band archetype way, the essence of the band is those two people together. For many people, there is no Clash without both of them there. And fair enough, fair enough. However, if you kind of explode that archetype and look at the Clash as they actually were, there's something quite distinct from the Rolling Stones or the Beatles. Partly because they were actually brought together by a manager slash agitator, Bernard Rhodes. Bernard Rhodes is the one who assembles the band. He has a vision of a band that will be as big as any band ever, but revolutionary. If for those of you who follow rock history, it's actually a little bit along the lines of what Phil Ochs was thinking at one point, which is what America needs is Elvis Presley crossed with Che Guevara. And the role of Bernard Rhodes in the band is critical. If you were to say who are the co-founders of the Clash, you could say, Bernard Rhodes and Mick Jones in particular. Jones because he is the musical genius, primarily. There's other great talent, but that's his role. And Rhodes because he gives the band its vision. If you listen to the songs, for example, Crush on You, a song that was written by Mick Jones before the Clash existed and later played by the Clash, later a B-side, you get a sense. The guy is not, he may be left-wing, but he's not seeking to be revolutionary in presentation. But Rhodes brings that, and most importantly finds the person who can play that other role perfectly, Joe Strummer. So I would argue, and the book argues, that the Clash is actually something more than a rock band, and that's intended. It's not just me as a fan saying that. That was intended from the beginning. However, the US Festival shows what one of the key members of the band, of the Clash's camp, the Baker, who was their roadie and like kind of a spiritual soldier of the band, from 1976. In other words, from before Topper Headens in the band, the Baker is there. The band existed on something he called the unanswerable dilemma. What does he mean? He means, what was Phil Ochs saying? What was Bernard Rhodes aiming for? You want to be the biggest band in the world and you want to be revolutionaries. The one requires collaboration in a sense with the capitalist order. The other is trying to overturn it. It's a striking paradox. Some people would say a contradiction. I would tend to say it is that tension within the band that makes it truly important, because they're serious about both. But it's easy to say that when you're an underground band or when you're at a mid-level of success. When suddenly you're one of the biggest bands in the entire world and you're at the center of the musical universe, as they are on that day at the US Festival with 250,000 people there, how can you be a revolutionary? You are at the center of something that is largely counter-revolutionary. And the answer is that Joe Strummer kind of throws himself into this role where he is challenging everybody from stage to rethink everything, including the question of whether or not you should even listen to what the people are saying on stage. He calls them, including himself, nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Now, coming from the punk underground, that makes total sense. What was that record label that expresses kill rock stars? That is a punk ethic.
But you were also, so yesterday at my house, we also talked about how he was also rallying the troops, which is what the Clash tried to do. They were a band that wanted to be as big as ever, but a band that wanted to bring young people into this sort of consciousness.
Absolutely.
And yesterday you said at my house, I could be called, and I love this, the poster child for what the Clash was trying to do, because literally that day I still had feathered hair, when I went to that show, and I was like on the cusp of like, am I gonna be an actual punk rocker or just kind of like, you know, punk rock music and the Go-Go's? I went home, I mean, that day changed my life. After that, I knew I was gonna be in a band. I went home and I cut all my hair off, and I was like, forget the, you know, Mexican beauty standard that I have to have long hair. It's gone, and I am a disciple of the Clash and anti-authoritarianism from here on out.
Yeah, and that shows that there is a power in what Rhodes and Strummer and the rest are trying to do. However, if you look at what's happening in the band at that point, the band is coming apart. Because some people in the band, particularly Strummer and Simonon, they wanted success, but they wanted it on their own terms. Other people, like say Mick Jones, is more comfortable with that. Not that he wasn't left-wing, not that he didn't believe the message, but frankly, he had groomed himself to be a rock star. And so he's more comfortable with it. From Strummer's point of view, the kind of popularity they were achieving was making him wonder if he would ever be able to write a real song again. Because the whole point of the Clash is, you know, they're coming from the people, right? Strummer is a squatter. He spent much of the 70s living...
A squatter whose parents were diplomats.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Although low-level diplomats, and there's a decision that he's made to kind of strip back that privilege and try to excise as much as you possibly can of that privilege. One of the ways you can see that most clearly is, anybody remember how Joe Strummer's teeth were at the beginning of the Clash? Mm-hmm. They were a wreck. And it showed, like, in a way, I think he was guilty. He felt ashamed of the relative privilege, and his way of dealing with it was to not take care of himself, in a sense.
He slummed it.
Exactly. But
George Orwell did the same thing.
Yes, he did. And actually, there's a section that talks about Orwell after this. Well, maybe talk about Orwell if you want. The point is that at this point, the band is about to explode. Now, no one knows that this is going to mean Mick Jones going to